Hey everyone, I'm going to be making this video just straight off the cuff. I've written down some bullet points of what I feel like will be some of the things that are good to mention. But ultimately, I haven't really unpacked this subject for a really, really long time. Really back to probably over 10 years ago now. So this video is probably a long time coming, but I wanted to update you on my side of the Yo Mama story because I realized that there are some videos made. I just watched one by Chazington, and a few years back, Daft Pina, who I believe now is Dove and Draw, had created one as well that I was a part of back then. And so, kind of get a sense that there's an attempt to piece together parts of the story and that I haven't really contributed my voice, and so my role it's sort of an enigma and there's mystery around it. So I was like, well, since I haven't really talked about this and I'm thinking about it now, I should probably do it now. And I was like, well, do I feel ready? Should I, put in more time to do this? Should I make it a bigger production? And I'm like, you know what? No, I should just do this right now because I'm thinking about it now, and why put off something that you could do now? So, yeah, it's probably going to be a lot of things that I'm going to miss or not cover. So if you have any questions, leave them down below and I'll be happy to answer them, at least to the best of my ability. So let's get started here. So who am I? So my name is Alex. As you can see on this channel, my username is Keep the Heat. This was a channel that was popular on YouTube back in 2009 to about 2012, 2013. Actually, between 2010, 2011, I was one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. I was ranked, I think, 84 around my peak. So I was the 84th most popular YouTuber at one point in time on this channel. And this was also around the time that I helped to create the Yo Mama channel. So I was instrumental in birthing this channel of Yo Mama. And that's a little bit of who I am. And at the time on this channel, I was doing a lot of music video parodies. And I was making sketches, but ultimately, and original songs, but ultimately it was a lot of parodies of music videos, but not even really parodies, just more my versions of the songs. And yeah, this was really popular back in the day. So this is a little bit of the origin story of Yo Mama. Again, I know that this has been pieced together a little bit, but I don't know if any of us has ever gone and said it. So, here we go. So Yo Mama really started in 2010, I believe. And I may not get all this exactly perfect because it's been, again, so long since I've unpacked all this. So I'm just doing the best that I can here. But I believe it was in 2010 because I was working with Redminus. So the background of this is I had my YouTube channel, this channel, Keep the Heat, where I was making music video parodies. The people that I was working with who were making my music at the time, my background instrumentals, their name was Approaching Nirvana. It was two guys who had this music duo, and somehow I got introduced to them. And we started collaborating, and they did all my backing tracks. So any song that I would do, I would reach out to them, be like, hey, I want to do this song. Can you make your version of it? And they would give me the track, and then I would make the parody or my version of the song. Well, they reached out to me, and they were like, hey, I know this really awesome animator. His name is Redminus. Let me know if you'd like to work with him. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, and he's wanting to get into YouTube. And he's really big on Newgrounds, which was a really popular platform back then. So I was like, interesting. I've never thought about doing any sort of animated music videos or animated videos before. So let me take a look. And so I took a look at his work on Newgrounds, and I was just floored by how amazing it was, and just his animation style and his use of sort of being able to tie in memes and sort of have this edginess to it. I just fell in love, and I was like, oh, I would absolutely love to collaborate. And so I reached out to him, and we formed a quick connection, and we collaborated on 2 videos, and you can actually watch those on this channel. I'll link those down below as well. The first one was, it was It was a song that was actually sponsored. And that's actually the reason I was able to work with him originally, is because the video was sponsored by GE, General Electric. And I forget what the product was, but it was a sponsored video, so I got paid for it. And I made enough from the video, or I was getting paid enough from the video to be able to hire Redminus to create this video with me. So we made the song, and I gave him the idea, and he was able to create it and also add his own twist and spin to it. And I just loved the result. It was amazing. And what I loved about it was that with animation, you could just dream up anything and it can be created. So I thought that was awesome. Wow. I could think of anything and it can be done. And so that was a sponsored video. So it didn't come out of my pocket, because animation is quite expensive, especially when you're working with someone who is as talented as Redminus, and you want to make sure that you're paying them what they're worth. And so we wanted to make another video. I was like, well, this is awesome. So I wanted to dabble in having an animated parody. So there's one animated parody on this channel. Again, I'll link it down below. That was Rihanna Man Down. And the concept was Fat Clown. so anyway, kind of a goofy video, but wrote the video and sent it to Red, and he turned out an amazing video again. And I just loved it, because it was just really funny to be able to write these videos and see it actually manifest. So that was all great. But the thing is that the parody, or like the videos that I was making for the animated videos with Redminus, they weren't cheap. They were expensive to produce. And the revenue that I was making back from those videos on my channel was not enough to cover them, was not enough to actually pay for the animation. It ended up being enough, I think, after a certain period of time, but maybe just enough to break even or just make a little bit. So it wasn't really sustainable as a way to continue to produce videos, because I just wouldn't be able to afford it to actually make the money back on the video. I think to make the money back, I would need to have, each video would have to have a certain number of million of views, which was hard to kind of predict at that time. So I was really bummed out, because I was like, man, I love working with Red and I want to keep working with him, but I just can't financially, make sense of this. At the time, me and Zack James were roommates, and we were living together in Santa Monica, California. The backstory on that was in 2010, I was living with a bunch of other YouTubers, Sear, who's a YouTuber back in the day, and actually there was like 6 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Sherman Oaks, California, which was really funny. And because I thought whenever I moved, there was only going to be 2 of us, and there was 6 of us. That's a whole nother story. But Zack came into town, and I met Zack with another couple YouTubers, Chris Supricky06, Chris Thompson, and Scott Kin Martin, for anyone that's OG YouTube and remembers these names. And Zack and me and Chris were talking, and it all kind of aligned for us to become roommates. So Zack was my roommate at the time. And so I went to Zack and I told Zack, hey, I've got this animator who I'm working with. He's amazing. I want to work with him, and I'd love to do more with him, but I can't make it work financially on my channel. Maybe we could create a new channel and we could collaborate and come up with some idea that we could make work. So he was like, yeah, that really sounds interesting. So I just put it to him, and I was like, hey, why don't you sit with this and see what you can come up with? And so he, went back, and after a certain period of time, maybe it was a day, maybe it was a few days, he came back and he was like, I've got it. Animated Yo Mama jokes. I was like, wow, that's a great idea, actually. And the reason I thought it was actually a great idea, so I'm going to date myself. I'm right now, as of this video, I'm 36 years old. So I'm actually old enough to come from a time before the internet, which sounds wild. So I remember the internet being invented and just starting to use these very early versions of the internet, back when there was only AOL, and I remember there was these chat boards or these message boards that I would go on, and I was really young as well. I mean, at this time I was probably, I don't know, when would that, I don't want to take up too much time, but I was young. I want to say it was like I was in third grade, something like that, maybe younger. Um, but I would go on these chat message boards, and there would be these yo mama jokes that people were posting. And eventually, in the really early days of the internet, there was these joke websites where they would post different jokes and they would have yo mama jokes. And for whatever reason, as a kid, I thought these were really funny. And so growing up as a really young kid, when the internet was first invented and I used to go on those early message boards and chat rooms or whatever, there was these people that would share yo mama jokes. And I just, yeah, again, thought they were hilarious. So whenever Zach had brought that idea up, I remembered that I used to go on these Yo Mama joke websites and everything. And I was like, you know what? That's actually kind of a funny idea. I like that idea. And the reason he came up with the idea is because on Zach's YouTube channel, he had actually asked his audience what their best Yo Mama joke was. And he noticed that that video got more comments than any of his other videos, I believe. So it was really, really popular. So it was like crazy that it all just aligned at the perfect timing, that I was working with Redminus, and I was roommates with Zach, and Zach had asked his audience about Yo Mama jokes, and it was really popular, and I was connected to Yo Mama jokes from my childhood, that it all just came together like magic. And that was that. A funny story from the beginning of the Yo Mama channel was that I was very hard headed. I mean, I've been very hard headed for a while now. I'm softening, but I was very, very hard headed back then. And I was actually gung ho on Brody Fox being a duck. Like, I wanted Brody Fox to be a duck, to be an animal, and I was like so gung ho on that idea. Like, I don't know why I was just so obsessed with this idea of Brody Fox being a duck. And we had created these mock-ups and everything. And, credit to Zach, because Zach was the one who was kind of championing Brody being who he is. And ultimately, he kind of talked me into it, and I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. It kind of is a little weird that if the main character is a duck. So I think, again, I believe this was in 2010, late 2010. If not, it was very early 2011, or maybe both, that we were creating all these mock-ups and putting together what would eventually be the channel with Redminus. And Brock Baker was a extremely popular voice actor, still is, and extremely talented. And he was, again, this is a really early day of YouTube, and Brock was, I don't know, there's probably more voice actors now, but he was the voice actor of YouTube. And like, he was, when you thought of voice acting, you thought of Brock. And we were friends. Brock was also in California, and we would hang out in similar circles and have similar groups of friends. So it was obvious that he was going to be the first person that we would call to voice this character. And so that's how it came together. It was me, it was Zach, it was Red, and it was Brock. And I'm trying to remember why we even wanted it to be similar to Joe of Family Guy voice. I think just because we just loved Patrick Warburton, and we just thought he was great. And I was a big Seinfeld fan, still am, but was a big Seinfeld fan growing up, and was just really like Patrick Warburton. And I was a big fan of The Emperor's New Groove, and he was big on Family Guy. So we were thinking that it would be funny if Brody had sort of his own version of a Patrick Warburton type voice. So Brock kind of created that, which sounds a lot like Patrick Warburton, but originally I think it was intended to be slightly different, but still in the same theme. But yeah, and I'm trying to remember when we came up with the idea that Brody had two dads. I think that may have been later, in which we were coming up with more elements of the story. So I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, just the early days were really kind of magical of this whole thing coming together. And the way that we were able to get it big really quickly is because Zach and I were already successful YouTubers, and we had a lot of successful friends on YouTube, and we were able to line up a bunch of promotions and shout outs. So in our apartment, we had a whiteboard of all these people, all our friends who we had gotten to agree to shout us out, and we were going to drop the video on one day, and we had all these YouTubers shouting us out on one day. And we even knew this guy, Ryan, who had a platform called AppRats, and he was working with Facebook, and he had these apps, and he was going to promote Yo Mama on his app. And so we had all this stuff going on at the same time to promote this channel. And it worked like clockwork. I can't remember what the stats were, but it was like the very first video that dropped, it was, the rest was history. It was on the front page of YouTube, and it was so popular because we strategically engineered it that the Yo Mama jokes were going to be animated by the users' comments. Oh, and if it wasn't clear, the reason that we were able to actually make this channel was because we bet on the jokes being able to be profitable. We were essentially betting that if we make a really short joke, it can get enough views for us to be able to fund the animation. So that actually was the whole reason that Yo Mama worked and was created, because the videos were so short that the animation cost just enough that we could actually potentially make money on the videos to be able to fund and be able to keep doing it. So that really paid off because it worked. And because we had the comments where people would comment and we would pick the best one and animate it, these became very popular. And we were setting things where you have to favorite the video, because favoriting was really big back then. So you have to favorite and you have to comment. And then we were getting on the most commented. We were getting on the most favorited, which there were at that time on YouTube, there was different, like there would be a most favorited section, and you would, and YouTube still really ranked engagement very high. So we were probably the most engaged channel at that, really realistically, I think we were the most engaged channel at that time, right when we had launched. If not, we were one of the most engaged channels because we were continuing to be on the front of YouTube. And this is probably predating a lot of you discovering the channel, but this is day one of the channel. We were just already on the front page, and every video we dropped was on the front page. So we were just growing crazy fast. This was in 2011 at this point when we launched. And I've got my notes pulled up because and I can't remember everything, but there was a couple things that I'm remembering. So if I look off to the side, it's just because I'm going through my notes to see if there's anything that I'm missing. So I do want to highlight that. Credit to Zack. Zack was the one who created the idea for the channel. I kind of had some of the key piece, which was Redminus, and Redminus, big credit to him. Redminus, I want to recognize for really being the true inspiration, because I loved his work so much. He was so talented. He was this hidden gem, and he was so creative in everything that, you know, he just inspired me so much, and I know he inspired Zack as well. And that made us really excited to figure something out. So I'm grateful that I was a vehicle to make this channel happen, but really massive credit to Redminus for being the true heart and soul of this work, and for Zack for having the idea and being able to put this all together operationally. As I'll probably express here in a bit, Zack was really instrumental in being the operations of this channel, and I was a little more of the creative person. We were both creative, but I was a little bit of the one who was trying to move that forward. One thing that you probably wouldn't know is that at that time, whenever Zack and I were roommates, our next door neighbors were producers in Hollywood. One of them, I believe, was what was he? He was kind of like a showrunner, or he was a person that was kind of an instrumental key figure in creating shows for different networks. And then his roommate, because there was two of them, was actually, I forget what it was, but he was a creator of a big series, or a big like movie series that ended up getting picked up by Paramount or some, I forget who it was, but it was some big they were going to make, it was almost like a Dune at that time. I forget the name of it, but it was going to be as big as Dune. It was like one of these, and they had signed on these massive actors to play, but ultimately it ended up getting shelved. But anyway, so we were working with them, and my number one thing that I was really focused on was being able to get Yo Mama from YouTube to TV. At that time, getting to TV was a really important thing. There wasn't really streaming at that time, so it was getting on TV. And this guy had connections, and so he would actually take us to meetings, and he would be working with us for us to get these meetings, and him to talk to different people that we could pitch Yo Mama. Unfortunately, nothing ever materialized there. We did have certain meetings, and he did put us in front of a lot of people, but at that time there was more of a stigma around YouTube. I mean, there still kind of, is a little bit of this divide between YouTube and mainstream, but at that time it was really prevalent. A lot of these big mainstream networks were looking to YouTube as sort of like not favorable because it was YouTube, and they just didn't take it seriously, and it was kind of a new thing that they were kind of scared of. Was probably makes sense that this is going to disrupt their entire industry, which it kind of did in certain ways. So for valid reason, they were kind of nervous to work with us, and they weren't sure if it was going to translate and everything like that. But me, I was very focused on that. I was focused on trying to get us to mainstream and being more creative, because I kind of noticed that with only creating very short jokes, that there's more limitations around how creative you can be in that process. And I was like, I want to tell bigger stories. And even Zach did too, both of us. I mean, we were really creating these big stories in our minds that we needed a bigger budget to be able to tell. And we were putting together all these characters, and some of the lore that you see now, we had created back then. And we were really passionate about telling bigger stories, and we had written a bunch of things, and sadly none of that stuff was really able to be materialized because obviously animation is very expensive, especially when you're doing it at a high level, and we needed a lot of funding to make that happen. And so a little bit of a background there on some of that. So okay, going over my notes. So that was 2011. In 2011, this is just my own personal story, and I'm not going to get too much into the details of me here, because I want to keep this focused on Yo Mama and even Animeme, some of the animation, because I know that's more relevant than I am to you guys. But just to give you a little bit of the background on me, so you could know what I was going through at the time. I was actually diagnosed with cancer at that time, believe it or not. So that was very traumatic for me, which I wasn't really, I couldn't deal with. It was so traumatizing for me. I couldn't deal with it, but unfortunately I had to deal with it later. And that caused me a lot of like emotional issues. But I was really, able to, at least at that time, kind of put that aside, deal with it. Thankfully, I beat it, and I was able to kind of move forward, even though I was sort of, there was a healing journey that I really had to go on after that. That's just a little background on what was going on with me in my life at that time in 2011. So 2012 rolls around, and we had Yo Mama going, and I can't remember how we created the idea of Animeme. I want to say that Zach had that idea I think Zach was the one that came up with the idea. I forget how, but he might go into that in the future. But again, some of this is really, it's been so long, and I can't remember all the details, but I want to say Zach was the one who came up with the idea of animated memes. But we were working with some other animators, or we had got introduced to some other animators, and we had just given them a Rage comic, and we were just saying, hey, can you animate this? And they sent us back what was the first Rage comic in the first Animeme video, and it was so funny and so hilarious to us. We were like, okay, this is great. And these were super early day memes. Obviously, memes have evolved a lot into something completely different, but back in the day, Rage comics were a really popular thing, and some of these advice animals were very popular and everything. And so we would send them that, and they would just come up with these great animations, and they were really big on Reddit and 4chan and all these types of things. So we were just like, yeah, why don't we play around with this too? And keep in mind, for me anyway, these were all side projects. Like Yo Mama was a side project, Animeme was a side project. These weren't anything that I was, at least for me, and I can't necessarily speak for Zach, because Zach had his channel at the time too, but he was also focused more. And I think as time went on, as things ended up panning out, he ended up focusing more on these channels than I did, which is ultimately why later on I would end up leaving, and then he would end up becoming, the main person who was running the show. But yeah, so So we worked with a bunch of different voice actors, a bunch of our friends in Los Angeles, and people that we were close with, different comedians, different stand-ups that we would meet, and they would be doing the voices. And so Animeme was just a really fun like side project. And keep in mind, these were again just side projects for us at the time. And so I'm just going through my notes again. Okay, so 2012 was a really interesting year too because the YouTube algorithm had changed in a pretty massive way. So anyone that was a YouTuber around this time remembers this. They did a big algorithm change because YouTube created watch time. So before watch time and minutes watched and all this was a thing, that wasn't even a thing. But before that, it was just views. Views was the ranking factor. Well, YouTube created this new metric called watch time and time watched, time spent watching. And what do you think that did? Well, it instantly prioritized longer videos because now it wasn't just about views. So it wasn't just a one-to-one. You'd have an hour-long video or a 30-minute video versus a 1-minute video. And before it was just only views. But now it's time watched. It's time spent keeping people on the platform. So instantly it prioritized all the long-form content. So what happened? Gaming channels exploded on YouTube. Thankfully, we were close to a lot of them and we were able to do collaborations with a lot of them. That's why some of the earliest jokes on Yo Mama were Call of Duty and things like that. We were working with a lot of these gamers and going to E3 and all sorts of fun stuff back then and doing collaborations. So we were kind of able to leverage that a little bit. But it kind of jeopardized our channel because now we were faced with a dying channel and yeah, we were like, well, this channel is going to be dead soon. So what are we going to do? And I want to give it to Zack again. I really think, and if I'm remembering correctly, that Zack was the one who was coming up with the idea of why don't we do compilations and everything? And I was like, well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we launched our compilation. I'm not sure if this was the first one, but I think the first one was 100 Yo Mama jokes. We had enough Yo Mama jokes built up at that point. And then it was like the rest was history because that video, I think now, well, definitely now, I'm sure is over 100 million views. And yeah, so that was a really effective strategy. So then we were like, okay, well, now we're figuring out the watch time thing. What we do is we just create a new joke and then put a compilation of videos after that. And we're able to kind of make it work. Again, keep in mind that if it wasn't for this, probably none of you would even know about Yo Mama, or not a lot would, because it would have been long dead. So the way that we were able to actually save the channel was to create these long form videos through compilations, because otherwise, again, we wouldn't be able to fund the channel with animation being as expensive as it is. So that was 2012, just making it work with the algorithm. 2013 rolls around, and I had got introduced to people at a company called Nerdist, and I was working with people at another company called Bedrocket Media Ventures, and they wanted to fund a project and were giving me the choice to kind of decide what I wanted to fund. And so somehow, oh yeah, because Epic Rap Battles of History, if you guys remember that, was really popular at the time. We came up with the idea, or I came up with the idea for Animeme rap battles. So I pitched them the idea, why don't we do memes rap battling? They loved it, and they funded the first 6 episodes. So all of season 1 Animeme rap battles with me as the host was funded by these companies. And these were really expensive. I mean, if I'm remembering correctly, I believe just one of these videos costed us 10 grand to make. So this was, and again, it's not like we're making the money back. We're posting this not even knowing how popular it's going to be or if we're going to make this money back at all. So the only reason we were able to even produce this is because these companies had been able to fund us and front the money for us to actually work. And we needed even more than 10 grand, I believe, because for the voice actors and different things. But we ended up connecting with this animation company called Toonocracy. That was these 2 guys that we ended up meeting who were really big in the animation space in terms of working on these big projects for Cartoon Network and Adult Swim and a lot of these popular networks at the time. And they had a big connection and network to a lot of these professional animators that were working on all these top animated shows but hadn't done anything on YouTube. So by working with them, we were able to create this pipeline, and that's why we were able to produce the Animeme rap battles. And they had this really cool animation style. As you'll see, Animeme rap battles isn't Redminus. Redminus has a very distinct style. Tunocracy was the company that ended up producing the Animeme rap battles. And so I was focused really on that because I'm a creative guy and I was really creative at the time, and that was kind of a way for me to still do comedy music, because I obviously with my channel Keep the Heat I was doing comedy music, and so that was kind of a way for me to keep producing these videos but still with my love and the wonder and awe that came from being able to create something animated where you could just dream up anything and you could do it. Yeah, that allowed me to really be creative, and it was so much fun too because on my channel Keep the Heat at the time I was working with this guy Dominic, who if you are familiar with Keep the Heat you'll know is the other person on my channel in the later years. And he was actually a comedian at the time, and so we would collaborate and we would have these big writing rooms just like you think of in Saturday Night Live, and where we would be sitting together around a big round table just coming up with the jokes for the rap battles and everything. So it was really cool. It was just a really cool experience for me to have, being in LA and creating these like really, higher production quality videos. And so yeah, so we launched that, and thankfully that was really successful, and we were teaming up with a lot of popular YouTubers at that time to make those videos. At this time in my personal life, what was going on, just some quick asides. I'm not going to go into too much details on my personal life, but just to give you a little tiny bit of context is, I'm still going through a lot, recovering from the cancer diagnosis, and now I'm having a massive spiritual awakening. I had done DMT, and which is called the spirit molecule, and I just had this experience where I was connecting with beings that were interdimensional, and I'm not going to go into too much more details on that because I've talked about that before, and I'm going to continue talking about that on my new channel and over the course of time. But yeah, just know that I was having a massive spiritual awakening at this time in my life, and getting more clarity on what's really going on a deeper level with the world. And I'll probably sound crazy, but yeah. So anyway, just I'm having a spiritual awakening around this time. Okay, so 2014 rolls around, and we're still working with Tunocracy, doing the Animeme rap battles, or we had just worked with them, but we don't have any projects, but we still want to work with them, and we still want to figure out more things to do. So Zach and I and the guys at Tunocracy are trying to come up with ideas. Zach and I also have a lot of other YouTuber friends, Steve Cardinal, if you guys remember him, and Crazy Russian Hacker, and some other people that we were just really connecting with a lot at the time. And we ended up coming up with an idea for a Breaking Bad and Frozen parody or spoof that was a mashup that was, do you want to build a meth lab? So we had that animated, and it became so popular that Breaking Bad had posted about it. Aaron Paul, Bryan Cranston, a lot of the Breaking Bad cast had posted about it, and it was all over the news. Every single outlet article you could think about was posting this video, and it was going massively viral. Ironically, Disney did not like it for obvious reasons because it was about a meth lab, and so Disney took it down. So there was a whole side story going on of like Disney taking this video down and us actually getting it reinstated. So I don't know how many people can say they actually were able to fight Disney and win, but we were actually able to fight Disney legally, and we got this video back up. Unfortunately, Disney was able to cut off all the viral momentum. So the video, last time I remember it having like over 10 million views, but I think if this thing would have kept going, it probably would have been over like 50 million views. So that was really cool. But and we were going with the idea that we could produce these viral shorts, and that video would have made us a lot of money to be able to keep funding these. But unfortunately, because Disney kind of cut us off and cut all the viral potential off of that video, we weren't able to make the money back. And we were kind of not able to continue making these viral videos at that time. So we're still doing Animeme and Yo Mama, and Zach is kind of more stepping into that role of like running the show. He's a really good operational mind, and so he's really cranking these videos out and doing the analytics, and I'm helping, of course, where I can and helping with some of the creative. But Zack is kind of fully stepping into a role of kind of leading in this sense, because I'm still focused on my channel and figuring out what I'm going to do there. I'm really at that point like still recovering from my diagnosis and on this spiritual wavelength and all this type of stuff, and going through a lot, and I had a vlog channel at the time where I was doing a lot of stuff with some of my roommates. Zach wasn't my roommate anymore, but I had a channel that I could link down below as well, where I was making a lot of videos. And then, so anyway, so that was 2014. So 2015 rolls around, and Zach and I create a company called Rise9. And this was sort of a digital marketing company and digital production company. And it was me, Zach, and a few other co-founders. And we were building an app. So essentially, our idea was to build a LinkedIn, but for creators, which still is a brilliant idea. And I'm actually surprised it has not been done since then, or since we attempted it, because I'm surprised that there isn't a social network for content creators. But we were creating that, and that was going well. We had hired a team, and a lot of the money that we were making from Animeme and Yo Mama, we were able to sort of self bootstrap the funding of this app. And to promote it, as we were launching, we actually threw this big party at VidCon that many people around this time will remember as the Golden Ticket Party. It was a huge mansion party that we ended up having. There was like mermaids in the pool, and it was Willy Wonka themed. Well, there was women in mermaid costumes, I should say. But yeah, it was just this really exquisite Great Gatsby meets Willy Wonka themed party that ended up coming together magically at this mansion in the Anaheim Hills. And so Rise9 ended up becoming overnight this really well-known and respected name, and even written about in different articles as well in the creator space. And so all of a sudden now we had this other thing that we were working on, and we were trying to figure out how to make all these things work, because Zach and I had our own individual channels. We had Rise9, we had the animation channels, and we just had so much going on that was hard to kind of figure out how are we doing everything. 2016 rolls around, and we're still managing all this as best we can. And then we're actually connected with a network, an MCN, which is a multi-channel network, a big conglomeration of YouTube channels, who actually wants to fund us to make an Animeme Rap Battles Season 2. And so I get really excited about that. And now it's completely funded. And so I get some of the cast back together. And now I'm getting really excited because I can be creative, in that space again with the animation. And I should also say, around this time, 2015, 2016, Zach and I are still trying to be very creative with the Yo Mama channel as well. And we had come up with a lot of these original ideas. We had come up with the old mama being an alien kind of idea, like being connected to aliens. The short mama being connected to a lot of, risque type stuff, and we had created the season 2 or some of the later seasons of Yo Mama, and so we were still trying to be as creative as we could. So that was happening as well. We were creating this whole world of characters and their lore and some of that stuff. So that was a lot of fun as well. And I think we were still trying to get that longer form content, but yeah, we just were, unfortunately, for some reason, we were never able to really get that going, or get somebody to buy in to fund Yo Mama. I don't know why. But so I was doing Animeme Rap Battle Season 2, which I took a bet that on Animeme Rap Battle Season 2, we could try to create more mainstream characters around it. So that bet ultimately was a fail, and I take full responsibility for that, because that was all my idea. And, looking back, I think, and I think even, again, to give Zach a little bit of credit here, I think he was actually more championing doing some of the meme stuff. In hindsight, I should have done should have wrote the meme stuff instead of some of these mainstream characters, because the videos for season 2 didn't do as well as the ones for season 1, and they weren't really like memes, but we were trying to kind of leverage season 2 to become more popular and become more mainstream. And yeah, it didn't really work as well. So if we ever do a season 3, if that is ever manifested in the universe at any point in time, if by some miracle, well, we're certainly going to go back to the memes. I know that would happen. Okay, so 2017 rolls around. Yo Mama Animeme are growing, and Rise 9 is growing too. And Zach and I kind of, ended up making a decision to have each other focus on individual projects. So I was kind of going to go more in a direction to focus on Rise 9, and Zach was going more in a direction to focus on Yo Mama and Animeme. And it was a little challenging to figure that out at the time, because we were trying to juggle everything, and we just, I think on some level just realized that we can't do it all, because everything has a responsibility. I mean, we have a responsibility to Rise 9 and our clients and each other as co-founders. And Yo Mama, we have a responsibility to you, the audience. We have a responsibility to our animators, and everyone is kind of working with us, and some people working for us and getting paid. And we can't just, work here and then cut, leave everyone here, or like work here. It's like we need to do everything. And so it was challenging to figure that out, but ultimately we had to make the decision that I would focus on Rise 9 and that Zach would focus on Yo Mama and Animeme. And just checking my notes. And I also around this time kind of felt myself losing complete interest in Yo Mama and Animeme, because again, I've always been a very creative person, and I felt like it was so limiting how we could be creative in that space, because everything had to be so short. And Zach was doing a great job running things operationally, but for me, creatively, I was losing a lot of interest in this. And but Rise 9, I was still very interested, because I was helping to develop this app, and we had launched the app at this point, and people were using the app and creators were using it, and I was like, I really want to devote more time to this. And again, yeah, Zach was wanting to devote more time to the YouTube channels. So it was tricky, because we wanted to do it all, and we just really realized that we couldn't. So 2017. I'm losing interest in everything. Zach is gaining interest in really the channels, and we kind of had to come to the decision, which was difficult, that I would need to leave, because it just wouldn't be really fair to everyone for me to not really be as interested, and also for me to still be a part. And this was like a really difficult period of time of my life, and everything, because there was all these projects that I really loved and that I enjoyed working on, but because they were both businesses in and of themselves, we owed it to everyone to be able to deliver 100% engagement of ourselves, so I could be fully engaged in whatever I was working on, and so Zach could be fully engaged. And so we ultimately came to the decision that we would have to part ways. And Zach would have to leave Rise 9, and I would have to leave Animeme and Yo Mama. And think of it as like a breakup. Anytime you break up from your significant other or an ex, it's usually pretty difficult, because you both want things to work and you want everything to work. But then it gets to a point where like it can't, and there's hurt feelings, and there's anger, and there's frustration, because everyone wants it to work, and there's not the best communication going on, and I'm not the best communicator, and I'm still dealing with trauma and stuff from my illness that had happened. And I'm sure Zach is also dealing with his frustration towards me of not communicating certain things. And so it's just a really, really difficult time, and my heart goes out to everyone at that process at the time, because we were just doing the best that I can, and it was hard. When you create something and you can't see it through, that is, very difficult. And so ultimately we had to get lawyers involved to negotiate this exit because we wanted to do it right, where I was going to be leaving and I needed to get something, and Zach was going to be leaving. So that was a whole thing that, we were able to kind of split amicably, and kind of make it work in everything. But again, it was just like a breakup. So it was tricky. I look back at this time and I really feel that, I really feel sad and bad about, my role in some of these things, because with Redminus and with, Brock Baker and, everyone that was working on the Yo Mama channel and the Animeme channel, I never actually at that time told them what was going on and why I left. I was like frustrated around a lot of things, and it was just a tough split, and I really didn't want them to feel like they had to sort of pick a side in that sense, because I knew that they were going to be continuing to work with Zach, and Zach was taking the lead, and I didn't want to create any problems unnecessarily. But I also felt like I couldn't really speak because I would have just been coming from a place of frustration, and if I was to speak on anything, it wouldn't have had the outcome that I wanted, because then I would just be creating more frustration. And so I wasn't really like emotionally too stable at that time to have, a good conversation around it with the team. And unfortunately, I just didn't say anything. And so I look back and I kind of am like, you know what? I feel like I was kind of abandoning them, and I feel like if I could do it all over, I would have liked to like have really sat down and, just expressed to everyone how much I really cared and enjoyed working with them, and respected and appreciate all of them. So if any of you are watching, I just want you to know I really wish I would have done a better job at that time of sharing how I was feeling, and just letting you know that why I ended up leaving. So this is kind of my time to at least share that if any of you are watching this video. So around this time, I'm also going through a lot in my personal life. I'm in a relationship, like that's kind of falling apart, and spiritually, I'm opening up a lot. So again, this is just a quick aside. I'm opening up a lot to spirituality, and I'm starting to get into like Reiki and different things like that. Just kind of experimenting and dabbling, because I'm like, okay, if this is all real, which I know it is, but I wanted to be like, how could I engage with spirituality and energy and some of these things? So I was starting to kind of dabble in that as well. Okay, 2019, and I was no longer part of the channel. Yeah, I do have a little bit more to say about the channel, but that's 2018 is when I left, if I'm remembering completely correctly. 2017, 2018, and I'm gone at that point. So, and I believe it was probably the beginning of 2018. So by this time, I'm no longer part of the channel. So anything that happens after 2017, pretty much, I'm not involved in at all. So that's kind of where my journey with it all ends. Although my character, so if you guys know Axel and Otto, my character still exists. So my character is still doing things on the channel, but that's why you'll notice that in the early days it's voiced by me, and later on it's not voiced by me anymore because I'm not a part of the channel anymore. Okay, so 2019, I'm not a part of the channel. I start working with another company in the creator space called Superbam at that time, and they hired me on to throw parties and to do marketing and things like that for them. And so I'm going to Coachella and throwing different parties for this company now, and helping them. And then 2020 rolls around, right? COVID-19, 2020, and everything gets shaken up. Around this time with Yo Mama, this whole thing around the final joke was going on, which again, I'm not involved with at the time. So I don't know anything about it. I'm just kind of noticing that they're posting things about the final joke, and I'm just like, what's going on? Is Zach like ending the channel, or? And I noticed that it was a really amazing video. Hats off to the team. That was a really cool video. I noticed that my channel, they killed my channel off, or they killed my character off, Axel, in that video, and it was kind of a weird way. It was, that they did it, and I was like, I feel like this is like a dig at me. I feel like they're, like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird way for my character to be killed off. But honestly, I was like, you know what? If it is something that had anything to do with being, upset at me or something, I'm like, I deserved it because like I said, I didn't do a good job at leaving. And so yeah, my character was kind of killed off, and I guess it makes sense because I wasn't a part of the channel anymore that my character would need to be killed off. But I still thought the video was great. And okay, so then 2020 run rolls around, and did I? Yeah. Okay. And again, this is just more about me at this point. Well, there's still a little bit I'm going to talk about Yo Mama and Animeme and everything, but pretty much that's, again, my journey had ended in 2017, 2018. But in my own personal life, I had moved and I decided to fully go into the spiritual work. And I just say this because some of you probably are, that are familiar with me, looking at me like, what the heck's he doing now? So I'm going full on into the spiritual work, and really I'm learning that spirituality is connected to holistic healing. And I care a lot about healing myself and healing from the trauma that I went through, because when you get cancer, you become extremely fearful around death because you get faced with it. And I needed to really process that. And so I was really focusing on healing myself, and I really wanted to work in this space and help others also. And so I was looking for a way to sort of get into spirituality more in depth, get into holistic healing. And so I started a podcast, and this is 2022, where I started interviewing different spiritual practitioners. And so at the time I had this channel where I was doing this podcast and interviewing people, and was still kind of dabbling in Reiki, and I was dabbling in, psychic mediumship and interviewing people on podcasts, looking into plant medicines and all these types of things, just getting my hands on anything I could in the spiritual space, in the holistic healing space, because I was really passionate about helping others and helping myself heal. And around this time, 2022, this is when Daft Pina, who I guess is now going by Dove and Draw, had reached out, and Redminus had reconnected with me. And Redminus, I think he said that he might have been leaving the channel at that point, or he might have already left the channel, but he asked me if I wanted to contribute to this video that was being made about the Yo Mama channel. And I hadn't really thought about it much since then, but I got re-involved. Oh, and I should probably mention that, Zach and I, again, we ended things, like, even though it was difficult, we ended things amicably, and we were still kind of, on good terms after that. So I didn't have anything negative to say about anyone, and I had kind of resolved a lot of the internal frustration that I had felt at that time. So Daft Pina had interviewed me for his video, and I just shared a little bit about what was going on, and that's why even in his video, which I'll link down below, you can see my YouTube channel at that time when I had some of the podcasts and some of these things going. I didn't, and it was crazy because I didn't realize how much of a cultural thing Yo Mama had turned into. Again, I wasn't part of more of the direction that it went after 2017, but it was like interesting to see that Yo Mama was still growing and was really a part of the cultural conversation on YouTube at that time. Because keep in mind, when it first started, it just started off a couple videos that I had made on my YouTube channel about a fat clown in a time machine, and now to see it being this thing that a lot of people were talking about and getting excited about this last joke, and there were a lot of big YouTubers were talking about it, was just like, whoa, that's pretty cool. It's cool to be a part of the conversation, even if it's just a part of a lot of our childhood and something we kind of roll our eyes about. And I didn't have any say on the creative direction of anything really. And again, back in the day, more of my creative pursuits were on some of the lore around the Yo Mama, some of the stuff that was some of the backstory, and the Animeme rap battles and things like that. So 2023 rolls around, and I launched my holistic healing business. I started getting involved in spirituality and holistic healing. I start seeing clients regularly every single day. I'm doing hypnotherapy, which basically is just another way of saying holistic healing, because it came to me. I didn't go out looking for it. I ended up on my podcast, somebody had mentioned hypnotherapy, past life regression. I look into it. It's like super interesting. I start working with clients, getting a certification. And literally it was crazy. It's like I'm starting to work with clients every single day. And I'm now becoming a hypnotherapist, and I'm becoming successful at this. And my clients are getting really great results. God willing, and everything is kind of taking off for me in a new way. So I'm devoting all my time to this now. 2024 rolls around, and I'm grateful to have gone full time in this business, and be doing holistic healing for people and helping them full time, having a full time business doing this, and 2025 rolls around this year, and now I'm doing retreats. And actually, 2024, I got invited to. Interestingly enough, I got invited to a birthday party, and I did a group session for everyone at the birthday party. It went really, really well. That was the first time that I realized I could do this holistic healing and hypnosis type work for people and help them in a group setting. I get invited to a big human design conference in 2024, that I do this for a group of 50 people, and it goes really, really well. So now I'm starting to become more successful with doing this for groups. And in 2025, I get to go to India for a spiritual retreat. I get to go to France. I just got back from France, and I did a big group session for everyone at the retreat there, and it went really well. So this is kind of really starting to become even more significant in my life, and that's kind of where I'm taking it in the future, is doing more group work, and being able to. And I just created a YouTube channel where I'm sharing more about this, because it's just pretty amazing to me, what's possible, and I really feel a big mission, a soul mission, to share this with the world. This is like becoming my whole life, my passion, and but I'm feeling I owe it to myself to go back to my Keep the Heat channel, and just clean it up, and sort of, it's kind of like, now that I'm getting back on YouTube, I'm like, maybe it would be fun to just interact with people on this channel. And so I'm thinking about, creating some shorts, and it's just different ideas, just purely for fun. That's it, just purely for fun. And then one of the people who just commented today, that's what I'm saying, all this is just really off the cuff here, had mentioned a Chazington video. And I was like, I don't know who Chazington is, but let me look this up. And then I go and see that it's another video talking about Yo Mama and some of these things. And, I'm just so grateful that Yo Mama is even a part of the conversation. I'm so grateful that all of you have spent time, and even if you haven't agreed with some of the directions that, I was making, or the channel had made after I was a part of it, that it still means something to you, and it's special to you. And even if it was just something that you just enjoyed as a kid, and it's goofy and silly now, and you kind of roll your eyes at it or whatever, I appreciate that it made an impact in your life, and that something that was just so, in my eyes, random, how it came about, had such a significant, at least brought joy, even a little bit. And so I just want to thank all of you for watching, for being a viewer. I just want you all to know how much you mean to me. And it was just, during my time working on it, was so much fun to participate in this channel. It was so much fun to read your comments, to animate them, to come up with the ideas. Everyone that I worked with on the Yo Mama team, Zach, Red, Brock, everyone, I just want you to know how much I appreciate all of you, respect and love all of your work. And I look back, and it's just such fond memories that I have working on this channel, and I really wish that we could have realized it to its full potential back when we had the chance. Because going back to 2011, 2010, 2011, when we first started it, we had big dreams of getting it onto mainstream platforms. And the only reason why is so we could tell bigger stories, because we knew that YouTube would never really support long form animated content, that we knew that we had to pitch it, or we had to get it to take off in some way, or to be recognized by someone from the mainstream for us to be able to tell bigger stories. And we just never got to that point. And I guess it hasn't been meant to be up to this point. And I believe that's why there's been a lot of talk potentially about different chapters of Yo Mama, because I know that it's in Zach's heart as well to tell bigger stories also. That's something that I remember whenever we were working together at the time, it's something that he really wanted to do. So I'm still hoping that at some point that can happen, and I'm still hoping at some point the stars may align for there to potentially be an Animeme 3, and be able to write that create that to be better. Um, and so just going through my notes. So yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to is I just wanted to kind of clear up some of the confusion on my involvement, because I know, again, it's been kind of a mystery in a little bit because I haven't really ever spoken about this. And I just felt that I owed it to any of you who were interested to know anything. And so if you have any questions, let me know down below, and I'll be happy to answer anything to the best of my ability. And once again, I just want to let all of you know it's just been amazing to witness how this channel has become a part of your lives, and how this channel has brought joy to some of you and to many of you. And if there's any great memories that you have about Yo Mama, the channel, if there's anything that you just think about as a child and reminisce about, or when you were watching this channel, or just anything that you want to share with me about, and please keep it positive. I mean, if you can, just because I'm kind of, I think very positively, and I just want to put good energy out there in the world. So if you have any positive things to think about how Yo Mama changed your life, how it uplifted you in some way, how it made your life better, and I welcome everything, but feel free to leave those comments down below, because the world could use a lot more love and joy and happiness. And so yeah, as 2026 is about to be here and beyond, I'm just going to be focusing more on healing, continuing on my healing journey, helping others, getting more into spirituality and things like this. And that's what I'm excited about now. And I've got a new YouTube channel that I'm focused on now. So I'm focusing on that. Again, thank you for watching, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for making my life special. Thanking you for giving me purpose and giving me meaning in this world. And I just want to say I love every single one of you, even if you don't like me at all for any reason. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon, hopefully, in some way.